You are the one who makes my heart ring. And that's why I'm sure that this is gonna be, yeah. Don't you know that I love? Oh, don't you know that I love? Don't you know? Oh, don't you know that I love you so bad? I bet $1,000,000 that you know, ooh, yeah, you know that. Don't you know that I love you so, yeah. Oh, oh, oh. You know that. Oh, I love. Maybe, baby, really, don't you know that? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think these next couple of songs are my original tunes, or one more? Are we good? We're good? What? Okay. I guess we're good. You want to come up? Come on up. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much again. My name is Darnell Alexander. I hope you guys have a great time, and thank you for bringing me to this wonderful event.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Mr. Darnell Alexander. I tell you, I saw some of y'all thought y'all were at a gym. Y'all were getting it. So listen, if we could please find your seats, and we are getting ready to have a good conversation to celebrate this day. So if you could please find your seats so we can have a heart-to-heart conversation with the 13th president and his donor. So as we move into the heart of today's celebration, we are honored to recognize a story of courage, faith, and extraordinary generosity. So we're going to bring our two guests of honor up to the stage for a nice conversation. So can you join me as we introduce President number 13? You join me as we introduce President number 13, Dr. Anthony J. Davis. His leadership continues to guide Livingstone College forward, and he has been non-stop making sure the money flows to Livingstone College. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Let's give it up for Dr. Davis. And now, we want to introduce, everybody can settle down and be quiet, and we can listen to this story, this remarkable story. Let us welcome Dr. Heather Patrek, the kidney donor, whose selfless act made a renewed life possible. So glad to lead this conversation. You know, the last time I was inside this gym, your school gave you a going away party as you got your kidney transplant. And the energy in the room was just electric as they prayed with you, celebrated you, and wished you a speedy recovery. And months later, guess what? We're back in the gym continuing Miracle on Monroe. Yes. Now, before I get into the questions, I had to look up. I always have a habit of looking up someone's name to see what it means. Um, and when I looked up Heather's name, Heather is like a flower, commonly symbolized good luck, admiration, and protection. It's also a symbol of resilience and endurance. And Heather, I'm here to say that you're living up to the meaning of your name. Yes. And then I had to look up Dr. Anthony Davis. Anthony, he lives up to his name too. Anthony means nobility, steadfastness, and being priceless. Yes, he is. So, really appreciate that. So, Dr. Davis, take us back to the moment you learned you had kidney disease.
Hello? Can you hear me?
One thing I learned during the pandemic was how to pivot. And so while they're getting the technology right, when did I discover I had kidney disease? It was really right after I was named by the Board of Trustees to be the president of Livingstone College. That was at the end of September in 2022. The second week after homecoming, I went to a doctor's visit, and the doctor told me that, hey, your numbers, your algorithms are indicating that you have lost about 45% of your kidney function. I said, but I feel fine. And it was then that I learned that I had chronic kidney disease. They said, we're going to do everything we can to save your kidney. They did a special test that kept me in denial. They did a test where they sent it to the Mayo Clinic. And when they sent it to the Mayo Clinic, they said that at that time my kidney function was slightly above 15. They said, we're going to try to keep you off dialysis. And that's when I learned I had kidney disease.
So, when did you start dialysis and what led up to that?
Well, what led up to me going to dialysis was my good friend Scott Esdale, who's not here today. He visited me, and I thought I was having a upper respiratory infection. I was walking around, I couldn't breathe. I went to urgent care. When I went to urgent care, they told me you need to go to an emergency room. I said, emergency room? I said, I think I just have maybe, a cold or something of that nature. They said, no, I think you have something more than that. And I was in denial. I went to a football game. It was the day of the commemorative classic, Dr. Alexander Johnson C. Smith, 2 years ago. And when I went to that game the very next day, I was short of breath. I could not walk from this stage to the first chair without being out of breath. I couldn't get comfortable at night. And I was carrying 20 pounds of fluid on my body. And when I went to the hospital, they said, Mr. Davis, we're going to have to admit you immediately. And I stayed in the hospital for about 4 days. And it was there, and they said, we're going to have to get you ready for dialysis because your kidneys aren't going to make it. And so they prepared me for dialysis. They put in the membrane and the apparatus that's needed to execute peritoneal dialysis. I didn't want to go into a center 3-4 times a week, so I said, get me ready for peritoneal dialysis. And guess what? I didn't need it until April. April of 2024 is when they actually brought me in and said, if you don't get on dialysis quick, you're going to have a major problem. If you don't have to come to the ER, but you better promise us that tomorrow morning you're in here. And they had to give me 2 units. I was there when they said, we're going to have to start you on dialysis. So that was a Friday. Then on Monday, I began the dialysis journey.
And I know you try to keep this to yourself. 9.5 hours of dialysis daily, 25 pills a day. Tell me, why did you decide to share your request in the commencement 2025? Because it almost didn't happen, but you had somebody to nudge you along. Tell us that story.
I had several somebody. Some of them are in this room. At first, my wife and children said, Dad, you need to use your network. You know, people love you. And I said, yeah, but how do you ask somebody to give you a kidney? What do? You call some of your friends and say, what's up, brother? Listen, I need a kidney. Hook me up. That's not an easy conversation. And so I was walking around suffering in silence. Most people saw me on with the mask, traveling all over the country. I was doing my 17 city tours. I was raising money for this miracle on Monroe Street, and I was just grinding every day. And it was my son who said, Dad, people don't know how sick you are. My wife said, you were sick. And I said, I feel fine. They said, no, you're sick. They had an intervention. It was a board of trustee meeting. After the board of trustee meeting, they pulled me in the office. It was Professor McDowell. It was Trustee Wendy Bailey. And at that time, Scott X. Esdale. And they had contacted my wife as well and said, we're going to bring him in. And we're going to tell him that he has to tell somebody that he needs a kidney. And they put together a committee. I forgot about my brother of 20 years, Anthony Brooks, who was on the road with me while I was going through this journey. Shout out to Anthony Brooks, because when we would go on our 10 city tours, he would go with me. Now, you know, Brooks is not a big brother. He's not a real big guy. But he helped this president carry a 50-pound dialysis machine and about 100 pounds of fluid to every city that we went to. And I want to thank Anthony Brooks for doing that for me while we were on the road. So it's May 4th, and they tell me to tell the world on May 5th. I agreed to do it with no intention to do it. I don't think you heard me. I agreed to do it to get them out of the room, but I had no intention of ever asking anyone to give me a kidney. But if you know the MLK story, when he was at the Washington Monument, he wasn't going to tell us about the dream, but Mahalia Jackson said, Martin, tell him about the dream. Well, Scott Esdale was across the stage looking at me going, make the ask. And I'm like, yeah. Valerie Hatcher's sending me notes, my assistant. And you know Valerie, she run around. She came right on stage. I'm in the middle of closing out commencement, and she puts a note down and says, we want you to make an ask. She didn't know what they were talking about. And right before I said we're going to sing the alma mater, Scott looked at me one more time with that look that only a friend could deliver. He said, you need to make the ask. And that is where I shared with the world that I was suffering in silence and I needed a kidney to preserve my life. Because at that time, the dialysis had stopped working. Peritoneal dialysis had stopped working. In other words, my numbers were as high when I made the announcement as they were when I started the kidney journey to be on dialysis. And that's when my nephrologist said, the only thing that's going to work for you is a transplant. The problem was I was O positive, and they told me it would take 7 years, and there was no way that I would make it to 7 years in the condition that I was in. So I made the plea. And when I made the plea, I'm so glad that I did. For those people who utilize social media, remember, social media can be used for the good, the bad, and also the ugly. I thought that I was making an announcement to save my life, but there were critics who said, why did you do that at commencement? That was their day. You had no right to mar their commencement. But as I reflect, I'm so glad that I did, because had I not done it, I would not be sitting here with you today. And I'm sitting here today, restored, renewed, and rejuvenated. To God be praised. We're going to share.
That's good.
I think
Where
I'm
are the
good.
people who told Dr. Davis to tell his story? I just want you to raise your hands. I want you to raise your hands. Yes.
Have them stand
Yes.
up. My wife, stand up.
Yes.
Stand up.
Why don't you stand up, because we need
Everybody
your
stand.
hand clap, because friends like you is why he's here today. Thank you. Thank you. We need good people like that in our lives. Thank you. Heather, tell us, how did you make the connection? How did you get to be on this stage today? What resonated?
What he's done for Livingstone in a short amount of time. He's only been president for 3 years. I'm a numbers person, so seeing the statistics, the article that I read said, how much the student body has grown, how many funds you've been able to raise, and so just seeing that, my first thought was, well, we got to make sure he can still do this job. We got to make sure he can keep doing this.
So, what values, relationships, and experiences guided your decision to become a donor? I know you were born in Las Vegas, you spent time in Minneapolis, you have family there, and now you've been in North Carolina only about a year and some change. So tell me, is there anything about your upbringing that prompted you to say, yes, I gotta do this?
Yeah, well, definitely. My dad's here. He definitely, instilled in me just the, when you say you're going to do something, you follow through and you do it. And it wasn't a quick process. And then my mom, who's unfortunately not with us today, but left us many years ago. She raised me and my siblings. She was always involved in the community, the school, church. That came first. So it was, there was dinner on the table, and she was running out the door because she had volunteered to go teach a class at church, or hand out groceries to those in need. She was somebody who never second guessed any of that. If anyone asked her to do something, it was, you're gonna get a yes from Mary. That's just how she was. So that very much, thinking back, there's been times where I think I'm not doing enough. I'm not as involved in the community as I should be. I don't give enough of my time. Because looking up to her, it was like, how do you possibly measure up to that? So this was clear when I read about Dr. Davis. It was something that I knew right as I was reading the article. Like, yeah, we're gonna do this.
Bob says the steps are ordered. So, yes. I just want you to tell the story about the connection that somebody, I guess on the West Coast, sent you an article that was connected to Dr. Davis. Tell us about that.
Like you said, I'd only been at this point, I'd been in North Carolina less than a year. Happened to be thinking like, oh, this is, to me, random guy, and I'm reading about your story, and
A random guy?
random guy
Random guy.
said, oh, he's located in North Carolina. I had never heard of Salisbury. I didn't know where it was. I had just, relocated across the country, so I was still getting used to North Carolina. And it turns out that my friend all the way in Vegas, that I went to high school with, came out and went to Winston-Salem State with Montreal Davis. And so that's how she had that connection of initially getting that article from Montreal. She reposted it, and that's how I got it. So it's strange because I didn't read it directly from a North Carolina source. It went all the way to Vegas and then back. So it was, yeah, it just made even more sense of this. This is meant to be.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow. You know, before you said that God orders everything. I have to say, and my good friend Bishop Darren Mitchell is here as well, and we talk about this. Not only is he ordaining things to happen, he ordains, he orders, he ordains, and then he orchestrates. What are the chances that someone makes an announcement on the campus of Livingstone College that reaches my son's expansive network? Shout out to Montrell Davis. We know him as DJ Trails. His expansive network goes all the way to Vegas and then comes back to North Carolina, and somebody reads it. That is only God ordering, ordaining, and orchestrating the pieces to the puzzle that may seem strange to us, but he had already ordained and orchestrated that Heather Patrek would be my donor, my angel on assignment.
You got a system. You got a system.
New one, that's right.
I know. So, Dr. Davis, tell us, how were you notified that you may have a potential living donor, and what was that like?
All right. Can I be honest?
Be honest.
All right. I was on heavy medication because my kidneys couldn't clear. Bishop Starnes, the medication had me almost lethargic, sleeping 23 hours a day. And at that point, my wife said, I'm not letting you out the house. You need to sleep this off. And I said, okay, I get to sleep all day. Came to the office first, went home, and then I'm sleeping. And I believed that I heard the telephone ring. But by the time I woke up to get to it, they hung up. And so I call it back. And when I call it back, this is what they said. I said, did anyone call me? They said, who are you? I said, I'm sorry. Gave my name, my birthday, and I said, somebody called me from this number. They said, let me just look you up in the system. And when they looked me up, this is what they said. They said to me, oh, we didn't call you, but in our system, we see that you're scheduled for transplant on November 13th. I said, okay, whatever. I got back into bed, and when she came home, she said, anybody call? I said, yeah, somebody was playing on the phone telling me that I was going to have transplant surgery on November 13th. And she said, if you know Dr. Davis, she basically got on the phone. She said, give me the phone. And she calls, and they tell her the same thing. But prior to that, what was strange was that I was not registered at Atrium. I was registered at Duke. And says, I want to donate to him. And then guess what? They're calling me saying, you've been scheduled to transplant. But before that, they pushed up my appointment because they said they had a potential donor. And when they said we have a potential donor, I said, who? Because remember, we made the appeal, and I want to thank everyone in this room who may have responded to that appeal. We stressed Duke's system so that they said in their history they haven't had one person make one appeal and have over 70 to 80 people volunteer to give me a kidney. Can I give you the shout of the day? I had 2 donors cleared to donate to me at Duke before I was cleared at Atrium. But because of the system and systems, they denied me transplant. The system's corrupt. Here it is, breaking news. They were charging my insurance $130,000 a month while I was on dialysis. 4 appointments a month, driving from Salisbury to Durham and back, still going to work. There are people in this room, the Board of Bishops in the AME Zion Church, who wrote letters, Dr. James Gavin, the Board of Trustees, and Mr. Fred Standback lended his influence, called Duke, and said, we need Dr. Davis in our community. And Mr. Standback, I'm so grateful.
because it was your phone call. Your phone call that reached the medical director that pulled the whole entire transplant team together and said, I don't know what you're doing, but you better get it right. Where Heather Patrek came to Atrium and got the ball rolling about me having a transplant. So I go get worked up, and they notified me in September that I had a match and I was going to transplant. I thought I was being auditioned for that show, You've Been Punked. That's what I thought. I just couldn't believe that it was happening.
Wow. Wow. November 13th, you said you're the 13th president.
Right.
November 13th, World Kindness Day.
That's right.
All happened on the 13th.
Right.
So Heather, tell me what was going through your mind when you showed up at the hospital on the 13th to give your kidney to someone you didn't even know his name. You didn't even
No,
well,
I
you knew his
knew
name.
him.
Right, you knew his
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
He didn't know me.
Right. Exactly.
But because, you're in the position you're in, I felt like I knew quite a bit about you. There was almost this guilt where it was like, well, he doesn't know me, but I, have eyes on him because there's videos, there's things I can see. So you don't know this, but on the day of, my poor husband and I walk into Atrium, you have to report at 5 a.m.
That's right.
So, doesn't matter because you're probably not going to sleep much the night before anyways, but you report in. Well, that early they make everybody go through the same door, and you go through security, and then you get checked in and go wait in the waiting room to be called up and then start the process. We walked in the door, and you were standing right in front of me at security, and I turned to my husband, Nick, and I was fine that whole morning. The night before, I was okay.
Wow.
I just started to shake. My whole body was shaking. And I was like, I'm not ready to introduce myself yet. It was like, let's get through today, and then I'll focus on the rest after that. But I saw you, and you were wearing your President 13 jacket. Mrs. Dr. Davis was right there with you. And Nick and I turned, I think we took a giant detour around the hospital. I was like, we got to go this way. He goes, that's not the way it is. I'm like, I don't care. We have to go this way. My whole body was just shaking. So we arrived even at the same time to the hospital on that day for surgery. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
talk to me about the day after the surgery. You wanted to meet him. Y'all met. He laid eyes on you, and you saw him. Talk to me about that experience.
It was, well, first, I knew going into it that I wanted to meet you if you wanted to meet me. And the kidney team, they recommend, just wait until after. We want to make sure everything goes ahead. We want to make sure everything goes well. And then we can introduce you guys. So day after surgery, I was on the 5th floor and at the Wake Forest Baptist Atrium Hospital, and the coordinator that I've been working with the whole time, she calls me and she goes, he's still in ICU, and we're trying to move him, and I'm working on it. I'm trying to get him closer to you.
That's right.
So then, a couple hours go by, she calls back, she goes, okay, he's finally on the 5th floor. It was a literal go, go, go.
Because they originally told me they would move me to the 4th floor. They come in, pack up my things, said, we're getting ready to wheel you down to the 4th floor. So then when they came back and said, change the plans, you're going to 5th floor, going to 5th floor, I have an attitude because I just want to get settled, right? I said, come on now, can't just get this right? No, knowing the difference between 4th and 5th? And I didn't realize that they were trying to set up this blind encounter. And then right after they told me you're going to the 5th floor, the phone rang and said, your donor wants to meet you. But I didn't get the message. My wife got the message, I think, before I did, that the donor wanted to meet me. Or was it afterward? I called you and said, hey, the donor wants to meet me. And that was it, man. Yeah.
Now,
So I was scared.
You were scared.
I was scared. Yeah.
So I know you talked about that. I guess she got the article from a Black enterprise, and you already had assumptions about what your donor would look like, right?
Right.
So talk to me about because you knew who you were, but you didn't know who.
So you really want me to do that? All right, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Friends.
But before that, though, when she shows up, and if I get it wrong, help me. When she shows up to Atrium, remember, I'm not registered at Atrium, I'm registered at Duke. Mm-hmm. She shows up with an article from Black Enterprise that says, I want to donate to him. They didn't know who him was. So they start to try and figure out who I was. Livingstone College gets a phone call. I don't know where my assistant is, Nadine Green. You know, the running joke at some HBCUs is that we don't do a good job of answering the phone. You know, my running joke is we may have had a bomb threat, but nobody answered the phone when they called. But this day, someone answered the phone and it got to my assistant that Atrium was calling with somebody who wanted to donate to me before I was even registered. Again, God working and being at work. So all I knew was that my donor was a woman, and they were going to take the kidney from your right side and put it in my left side. Was that my donor was a woman, and they were going to take the kidney from your right side and put it in my left side.
Left side.
Okay.
You got my left kidney.
I got your left one. Mm-hmm. That's probably the best one because now,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's another story. But originally they said they were going to do the right and put it on. Yeah, that's right. They did your left and they put it on my right. I had it backwards. And they said the donor wishes to remain anonymous. And I said, okay, cool. I understand. I live in that world. I get it. And when they said that she was coming in, my only thing I knew was that she had a Black Enterprise article. Shame on me for making the assumption. But when she came in, husband Nick wheeled her in. And that's my new brother-in-law, Nick. Give him a round of applause for it. When they wheeled her in, my in-laws were in the room, my best friend Scott Esdale were in the room. They were all together. My wife, they were all in the room. There wasn't a dry eye in the room, including mine. Together. My wife, they were all in the room. There wasn't a dry eye in the room, including mine. It was like an angel walked in the room. And I'm looking and I'm going, OMG. This is not what I expected. A young white woman that looks like she's my children's age, donating to an African-American male that she never knew, never laid eyes on, outside of social media. And shout out to the powers that be, the attackers of DEI. There's only one race, it's the human race, because when the story is written and the story is told, she donating to me, the physician said I could not have had a better donor if a sibling donated to me. That means that genetically we were a match, and now we're a match spiritually as well. To God be the glory. And when she walks in, I'm going, wheeled in. We all just start boo-hooing. My good friend Scott, you know, macho guy, he said, I said, man, you crying too? He said, nah, man, I got something in my eye. I said, okay, yeah, right. But then we laid eyes on one another, and my first question to Heather was, why me? Why did you decide to save my life? And that is when she told me for the first time, you're doing amazing work, and I want to see you live to continue that work. I'm sorry.
And I just want to, in the times that we live in, where there is division, people against each other because they look different, speak different. Talk to me about what can Livingstone and the world learn from what we're seeing up here in spite of the division that we are experiencing in the headlines.
I'm going to take the first stab at that.
Go ahead.
So I don't want to make this political.
The headlines.
I'm going to take the first stab at that.
Go ahead.
So I don't want to make this political, but I need to make it practical. When we talk about the division in the country that we live in today, there's a common denominator that is stoking the division. We're two people who never met each other, and she's keeping me alive. How could I ever consider challenges relative to race again? Because it's her kidney that's keeping me alive. Without her kidney, my numbers would go out of the roof, and it would be the end of Dr. Davis. The same disease that threatened or took out Dr. Joseph Charles Price in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Guess what? Threatened my life. But I'm still here because of this angel on assignment. And now what can we learn? Learn to communicate with people, because you'll learn that diversity is not necessarily the word. We need proversity, because we have more in common than we have differences. So we celebrate diversity, but we also have to celebrate what we have in common. And that one thing that we all should have in common is a love for humanity.
I think something that we don't focus on enough as well, in addition to that, is how much courage it took for you to say something and to let the world know that you needed help.
Right.
And for people, whether they're students of Livingstone or people, in the community, or obviously across the country, they now get to see this example of this person made it known. And that's an uncomfortable thing, no matter what type of health issue you're talking about. It's not a fun thing to tell even your family, let alone a huge community. So to show that that's the important key here, is that you have to speak up, you have to advocate for yourself, and you have to get it out there so that people can help you.
That's right.
Otherwise, the journey wouldn't have been there.
That's right. That's right.
How's everybody feeling? Feeling good?
Feeling good.
Feeling good. Gotcha.
Feel great.
So how has this experience changed your life, changed your outlook, changed your perspective, and how will you be a changed person? We'll start with you, Heaven.
It's any time that I think I'm having a rough day, think about him. And just know that, back before the transplant, you were traveling, you were working, doing dialysis every night.
That's right.
Schlepping everything around with you.
That's right.
If I have a stomach ache, I don't even want to go to the grocery store. So I can't imagine what that is like. And knowing that you kept going and you still had the energy and the drive, even if sometimes you were faking it.
I was really faking it.
That
I'm a
is
good
what
actor.
I think about.
I'm a good actor. I should have received an Academy Award for that one, honestly. Wow. You want me to add it? How's it changed my life? I almost gave up. There were times when I started saying, if I don't make it through this, make sure you tell people this. Make sure you let everybody know that I did the best thing I could. I did the best that I could to be a good person. This has changed my life when now I realize that what Rick Warren talks about when he talks about being purpose-driven, that's not just a cliche, that's a mandate. Because everyone must wrestle with the question, what are you on earth for? And the fact that God saved my life in this way that he did it, I realized that I've got work to do. And in the words of the poet that said, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Changed my life.
The last question. If you could ask one concrete thing of everyone in this room, in this audience today, what would it be? One concrete thing that you would ask of everyone in this audience today, what would it be?
I think, who do you know in your circle might be going through something that you could do something about? You know, it doesn't have to, it could be sharing a post. You know, it could be getting the word out there. All of that started the domino effect. And without one of those smaller steps, the rest wouldn't have happened. So it doesn't always have to be, you know, how can I help them? How can I take their pain away or something? It could be just a small something along the way that then, you know, starts that domino effect.
I'll add something to it. The system is not, the system doesn't work for everybody. I was fortunate. I had a platform. I had resources. When Duke denied me transplant, I had to go to physical therapy because they basically said you're unfit for transplant. They made me jump through hoops. They made me come do a walking test. They made me do all of those things. I passed every test and they still said we need to wait. But while they were telling me to wait, I was deteriorating in front of everybody's eyes. So the longer I waited, guess what would have happened? I would have been moved to the point to where I would have been excluded from being able to be on a transplant list. I'm a diabetic. Had my A1C went up 0.3 points higher, they would have disqualified me because they said I was a health risk to infection because your hemoglobin AC was above 8.5. I was 8.6 when Dr. Parney took me to transplant and took a chance on me. Again, God ordering it. I have a good friend in this room, a colleague of mine, who needs a transplant. But for some people who don't have the resources or the platform, they keep moving the goalposts, and then they move the goalposts because they're more concerned about their outcomes than concerned about saving lives. So my challenge to everyone in this room is to move from the space and place that I call unknowingly selfish. Because you may have an organ where you can survive with one, but you can share one organ with somebody else to save their life, like Heather Patrek saved my life. I really believe that as we move,
We're going to have Dr. Jackie go first. Thank you for your honesty. That is good.
yeah.
That is good.
And if, in case you didn't know, Heather and I have decided, because of our connection, that we're going to live the rest of our lives as brother and sister. So this is like a wedding reception today.
That is good.
I'm now receiving them into my family, my extended family, my biological family, my brother's here, my sister's here, my biological siblings, my extended family, my in-laws. And so I want to welcome you, Mr. Legenfeld, and welcome you, Nick, my new brother-in-law, to the Livingstone College family. And I'm so glad to be part of my family. I only have one regret, that Eva's not here. Eva is the 4-year-old daughter, and I have a new niece that I can't wait to spoil. And
She's
this
very
is
spoiled
great.
already.
Yeah, I
She
know.
doesn't need any more.
She may can get a full ride.
But you
here
know,
at
I can
Livingstone.
spoil her, and she has to stay with you. All right, Dr. Davis.
Let's welcome Dr. Jacqueline.
Yeah, let me get it. You know.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Heather, Patrick. We cannot thank you enough. You can't hear me at all?
There you go.
Okay, well, I'm coming before you just to say thank you for all that you did, for your selflessness.
Wait a minute.
Still here?
All right.
I'll make mine. Thank you.
Okay,
Check,
they
check.
got it.
Okay.
All right.
Can I talk maybe if I talk this way? Can you hear me that way? Okay.
That means you have to get real close.
Oh, okay.
All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Go ahead.
I can take your microphone.
Yeah, you go.
Thank you. On behalf of our family, we wrote individual cards when originally we thought that you were going to remain anonymous. We wrote individual cards just to thank you for all that you did. And I know in my card I had said, thank you for saving my husband's life, because that's actually what you did. Maya, in Maya's card, she thanked you for saving her father, because she said when she gets ready to walk down the aisle, now she won't have to wonder who will walk her down the aisle. And for Montrell, he shared that his father has taught him how to be a man. And now, by you saving his life, Dr. Davis's life, he will be able to see the seeds of what he planted in his son. So we thank you. Thank you for that.
Now I was holding it together until you did all that. Oh, man.
So on behalf of our family in Livingstone College and Dr. Davis's aunts, if they will please stand, they had a bouquet of flowers as well. The orange one's there.
Thank you very much.
That's theirs. And the other bouquet of flowers are from Livingstone College. So we just want to say thank you.
And can I just say that the amount of work that Mrs. Dr. Davis and my husband, Nick Patrek, have done behind the scenes to get us where we need to go on time and take care of us when we haven't been 100%, was a huge job. So thank you.
Thank you. And Nick, can you please stand?
My brother-in-law, Nick. Nick.
Check, 1, 2.
Wow.
And then if all family members will stand and everyone who traveled in.
Extended, expanded, all of you, please stand.
Everyone's waving. Thank you all so
Thank you.
much. And thank you for your prayers. God truly manifested and answered all of our prayers. And thank you for that. Nick, would you like to say something?
No, thank you.
I guess that's it.
I think that's it.
I think
You got it? All right.
Thank you.
we'll put these on your table.
We're going to put that on our table. then.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where's Virginia? And then while I'm here, can I just go ahead so I don't have to come back up?
Okay, yes.
My closing remarks, and we're going to let Virginia Rush take us home, and I think someone will pray a prayer of benediction, blessings over our life. I want to thank all of you for your prayers and well wishes. Here's what I've imagined in my mind, that on that throne room in glory, that angels were bringing prayer requests to the God that sits high. And I believe that he receives so many prayer requests because all over this community, all over the church, I can't go anywhere without somebody saying, I was praying for you. Somebody was able to get a prayer through. And I don't know who you are. Maybe all of you were able to get a prayer through. But now I know the power, the purpose related to prayer. Thank you so much. Those are my closing remarks. Thank you for spending the day with us. I know the day was long, but I believe that it was well worth it. The day with us, I know the day was long, but I believe that it was well worth it. Again, thank you. And to my sister, love you. So Virginia's going to give us our final song. It is a tribute to my little sister, Heather Patrek, the new addition to my family. Thank you. Sound man.
Testing. Must have been cold there in my shadows to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine. That's your way. You always stood one step behind. Well, I was the one with all the glory, and you were the one with all the strength. A beautiful face without a name for so long. A beautiful smile to hide the pain. Never know that you're my hero. You're everything I wish I could be. I could fly higher than an eagle, for you are the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, but I've got it all here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth. Of course I know I would be nothing without you. Oh, did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. I can fly higher than an eagle, for you are the wind beneath my wings. Oh, did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. Oh, I can fly higher than an eagle, for you are the wind beneath my wings. Oh, you are the wind beneath my wings. Oh, the wind beneath my wings. Fly, 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 fly. Fly, fly, so high against the sky. I thank God for you. Fly, fly, so high against the sky. The wind beneath my wings. Thank you. Thank you. Thank God for you, the wind beneath my wings.
This concludes the President's Luncheon. Have a great day and continue to have more miracles on Monroe Street. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Oh, and you can take the flowers on the table. They're yours. You can take the centerpieces.